Have you ever opened up a stock report and just been hit with a wall of numbers and charts? It can be pretty overwhelming. Well, today we're going to change all that. We're going to take a real technical analysis report for a stock. This one's called TOMZ, and we're going to decode it piece by piece until it tells a clear story. So let's dive right in.
Right. Think of us as data detectives for the next few minutes. This report, it's packed with clues. And our job is to sift through all these numbers, spot the patterns, and basically piece together the hidden story. You know, every single number tells us something, and I promise, by the end of this, we will have solved the case of TOMZ. And here we go, our very first clue. The report we're looking at is from December 31st, 2025, and on that day, a single share of TOMZ was priced at just under 75 cents. So that's our starting point. But, you know, a price is just a snapshot in time. The real mystery is, where has this stock been and where is it heading? That's what we need to figure out. Okay, so let's officially begin our investigation. We're going to focus on three absolutely essential clues that are hiding in this data. First, the overall trend. Second, the price momentum. And third, what I like to call the key battleground levels. Let's start with clue number one. You know, before we get lost in all the little details, we have to zoom out. We need to see the big picture. Which way is the wind blowing for this stock, right? Is it on an upward climb? Is it in a free fall? Or is it just kind of stuck? This overall trend, it's the most fundamental piece of our whole puzzle. So, how do we figure out the trend? Well, our main tool for the job is something called the moving average. It's a really simple but super powerful idea. It just takes the stock's price over a set period, like, say, the last 200 days, and it averages it all out. What this does is it smooths out all the crazy day-to-day noise and lets us see the true underlying direction the stock is heading. Okay, now take a look at this. This table tells us a whole lot in just a few seconds. We've got the short, mid, and long-term average prices here. See a pattern? The 20-day average is about 78 cents, the 50-day is almost 83, and the big one, the 200-day, is nearly 90 cents. Every single one of them is higher than the stock's current price. And this right here really drives the point home. Our current price, 74.6 cents, is sitting below all of its key moving averages. But the most important one is that it's trading way below its long-term 200-day average of almost 90 cents. Now, for any technical analyst, this is a classic textbook bearish signal. It's basically screaming that the long-term trend is pointing down. So clue number one is in, the trend is definitely not our friend here. All right, let's build on that and move to our next clue. I mean, knowing the direction is one thing, but how much oomph is behind that movement? Is this downward trend really strong and picking up speed, or is it maybe running out of gas? That force is what we call momentum, and it's our second critical clue. To measure momentum, we use a really popular tool called the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. Think of it like a speedometer for the stock price. It just runs on a simple scale from 0 to 100. So a reading over 70 usually suggests the stock is overbought. Maybe it's gone up too fast, while a reading under 30 suggests it's oversold, and it might be due for a bounce. So where does our stock, TOMZ, land on this scale? Well, the report puts its RSI at 39.72. If you look at that scale, that number is clearly in the weaker half of the range. It's kind of leaning towards that oversold territory, but it's not quite there yet. The main takeaway here is simple. The momentum is weak. The sellers are in control. And just to be sure, we'll check one more indicator called the MACD. Now, let's not get too deep in the weeds here. The only thing you really need to see is that the main MACD line is below its signal line. That's it. This just confirms what the RSI already told us. The momentum for this stock is weak and it's bearish. On to our final clue. Look, in the stock market, prices don't just move around randomly. They often hit these specific price levels where the battle between the buyers and the sellers gets really intense. Finding these battlegrounds is like getting a map of where the price is likely to either struggle or find some help. So, analysts calculate these levels using some simple formulas based on the previous day's trading. They figure out a central pivot point, and then they map out levels of support below it and resistance above it. The easiest way to think about it is this. Support is like a potential floor for the price, and resistance is like a potential ceiling. So the million-dollar question is, where is TOMZ's trading in this battleground? Well, its central pivot point is at 76 cents. The first support level, that floor, is down at 72 cents.
And our stock at 74.6 cents is trading below that central pivot and a lot closer to the floor than the ceiling. This tells us that right now, the sellers, the bears, they are winning this fight. Okay, so we've got our three clues: the trend, the momentum, and the key levels. We have examined all the evidence. Now it is time to put it all together and deliver the final verdict in the case of stock TOMZ. So, what's the real story these numbers are telling us? When we lay all our evidence out on the table, does it paint a picture of strength, or is it a picture of weakness? Let's quickly review the facts. Here's the story, plain and simple. First off, the overall trend is bearish. The price is trading well below its key long-term average. Second, momentum is weak. We confirmed that with both the RSI and the MACD. And third, the stock is losing the battle at those key price levels, trading below its pivot point. I mean, the evidence here is pretty overwhelming. The report wraps everything up with a final technical score of 68.92. Now, I know what you're thinking. You might see that number and think, hey, 68, that doesn't sound too bad. But a score like this has to be read in context. Given all the strongly bearish signals we've just uncovered, this score isn't some sign of hidden strength. It's just a number that exists inside a much broader story of weakness. And that really leaves us with one final big question. The report also mentions that the stock's 52-week low is just under 63 cents, which is not that far from where it's trading now. So the question becomes, given this clear downward trend, the weak momentum, and the bearish positioning, what kind of massive news, what kind of powerful catalyst would it possibly take to fight this tide and completely turn the story around? And that's something to think about.